All right. Good afternoon to everyone on the East Coast, but good morning to everybody on the West Coast. Super excited to end off day one with Ava. Um, I I got connected with you because you went viral on LinkedIn, I think, and then and then I looked at your just experience and information, could relate a little bit. As I'm also a founder and I'm at a venture capital firm. But
Mhm.
I think I just really love your experience and approach, really to just building a company. And we could kind of go into that. But before we get started, I think it would just be great to maybe introduce yourself and upbringing and education. Um,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Go
yeah.
back in time. So actually started off my journey as a designer. I went to school for design and my entire journey started when I like, worked on this like one painting for like 12 hours and my eyes were bloodshot and I had to go to class at like 9 a.m. and I couldn't even, concentrate at that time. And I realized my world was so small, being a designer and just like using a paintbrush, every day and just like kind of focus on this painting. I don't get to see the world or experience anything else outside the world. I realized I have to expand my horizons. And so I actually started sneaking into the campuses next door where they had like the business campus and the engineering groups. And I actually found myself connecting with all the students there a lot more, just like hearing their stories. Why are you in this like curriculum? And they had bigger dreams. They had like beyond just like my color theory, they're thinking of building the next thing. And I thought that was really inspiring. And so one of the student groups were hosting this like workshop every month and they needed posters made. I was like, I'm not part of this school here, but can I join the crew and make all the posters? And eventually we invited founders to come speak and one of the startups needed to hire a designer and that led me to being like, let me like join. I remember I was making like $700 a month and just like so amped to be part of the company. Um, and when I walked into the room, literally, like the room was filled with like 8 male developers trying to sell this like beauty subscription box business and build it. It's hilarious because they're
Yeah,
all,
that's
geeks.
yeah.
And you're trying to like think about like, okay, do I put this like Lancome perfume bottle in the box with this like Pantene shampoo bottle? And I was like, heck no, you don't like mix the two together, different worlds. And so that eventually led to me being like the product person, the brand person, thinking about the voice, how do we talk to our customers? And then getting invited to the boardrooms. And I still remember, in those boardrooms, they're talking about the P&L and I'm just like, what the hell is a margin? Like EBITDA? What is that? Like that's such a long acronym. I don't even know how to spell it. I had to like write the pronunciation down and Google it eventually. But after, every quarter being in the boardrooms, I finally kind of pieced together all the numbers and it started to tell a story to me, just like a painting coming together. And I started to ask questions, make suggestions, and eventually when we sold that company, I was asked to be the co-founder of the next with the CEO. And it was really cool, like being part of that experience where it was literally just like the four of us at the beginning and eventually grew the company to like 50 folks, 3 cities. And basically what we did was we took millions and millions of samples from P&G and Unilever. Think about like millions of Tide Pods, millions of like shampoo sachets. And the brand managers there back then would just simply, like hand them out at events or on the streets. And there's no way to measure the ROI on them. And so we said, hey, like, why don't we take those samples and place them into big box e-commerce store brands and suddenly you're targeting a certain demographic and you can circle back with data through surveying these customers. And
Mm.
so it grew tremendously. In its second year, we raised around and Um, we were, you know, hitting the millions, like setting like 10 million as our target. And it was just a rocket ship. Eventually, you know, we won Forbes through that, won EY Entrepreneurship Finalist Award. And that's when I had a moment where I had to like pause and realize, hey, like this is extremely boring. Like the growth was awesome, all the problem solving is awesome, but after all that, I felt like I was bored. And so I decided to reach out to my founder network again and see what they're up to. And I realized I'm really excited by, you know, companies in like the C to Series A stage, where it's like there's so much happening, so many layers of building that need to like interconnect to make magic. It's just like very exciting for me. And so I asked myself, how can I do this all the time? I have no interest talking about one thing for the next 10 years, but I have an interest in meeting smart people. I have an interest in building amazing things. And so when I helped a friend of mine, Sisun, he was a product manager at Tesla at the time. He just came back from Korea and was drinking this like herbal tonic for his hangovers. He was
Mm.
kind of shocked that in America, like this like hangover category never existed. It doesn't exist. And that was 7 years ago. And so he reached out to me and said, hey, Eva, like, you know, 0 to 1, you know, brand, you know, marketing, like, can you help me build this? And so for the next like 5 months, literally worked from like 5 p.m. to like 1 a.m., just helping him figure that out. And basically he wanted to target college students. I said, hey, let's set out like an experiment here and use Meta and kind of, you know, conduct an experiment to figure out his target audience. And eventually a lot of that work led to, you know, him raising $150,000 in the first round of Indiegogo, first hour of Indiegogo, and then $1 million in the first quarter. And the rest is history. But that's the birth of LaunchPop. And this is where I am
Wow.
now, just basically leveraging the same framework to help all our founders launch their companies, hopefully disrupt categories, create new categories. I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So I think what's so interesting is, going from a designer, to just being in the boardroom. So I guess, for those listening who are in the same position, like, well, I guess obviously, you could stay, curious, but maybe if you could talk about that and how just you were able to move on up and ask the right questions or what type of questions you were asking, because I think sometimes a lot of people end up feeling kind of stuck where they're at and not room for growth. So maybe if you could just share a little bit of insight in how you were able to get those opportunities.
Yeah, I think like if I create a scenario similar to the world of branding, like branding is a logo, but then a logo is just a touch point that reminds you of the brand's experiences, right? So what does that mean? Like, how do you talk to your customer? How do you treat your customers like all the different scenarios will define your brand, right? And the logo will remind everyone of like how you treated them because that's what people
Mhm.
remember, right? And so when I thought about myself and when I was like so excited to like start and build my career, I just kind of like told myself and like created some like, I guess like brand ethos for myself. And if there were 3 keywords that someone could remember me for and consistently remember me that for, I believe that I would be successful, right? And I think I just always said yes in the beginning. No matter like how tired I was or I knew like just how much was on my plate, I just said yes anyways because I was just curious, where would that lead me? Especially in that phase of my career, I was just so young and like I needed to be a sponge. And I always show up, you know, like if I were tasked something, I was really hard on myself to perform. And that naturally created a lot of trust from people who worked with me. And when you can create trust, you unlock a lot of doors. It doesn't matter what it is. Your
Yeah,
brain is, you're going to figure it out.
I love that. And is Launch Pop, do you have a business partner with Launch Pop
Yeah, I
or?
have a co-founder. Her name's
Okay,
Jane. Yeah.
nice. Maybe you could share a little bit about that dynamic and how you two contribute each other's skills.
Yeah. People always ask me like, "Hey, should I find a co-founder? Is that a good idea?" And I think like you think too far when it become like when you think about a co-founder, it's like a marriage, right? It's like so serious. So like, but it's okay if like there's a phase that eventually it doesn't work out, right? But you have to think about immediately right now, like when we launch and build, is there something here that will unlock our superpowers by being together? And so with Jane, she's actually my girlfriend, like best friend. And we were the duo that, went to clubs and we'd be like, I'm not waiting in line. I don't even have VIP, but I'm gonna walk up to the bouncer and say, yo, two girls here, get me in, right? And
I love that.
because we made each other so confident, we always got in. And I think just like that dynamic, helped us build our business because we would head into situations where, we would have imposter syndrome, we'd be so scared to even, say a number higher than we think we could in terms of our sales. And so by having each other, we provided a lot of confidence and it unlocked a lot for us.
Love that. I love that. And you brought up one of the my least favorite words that I have, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I think that's, something, unfortunately, that, it's almost, like a word that we share too much. I feel like, and people adopt that. Um, Maybe if from your perspective, you're in California, maybe if you could shed a little bit about that and in terms of how you and the founders you work with, um, really get past it, right? And I think one way, for example, is focus on action and helping your companies and customers, not trying to be like a celebrity. I think we kind of glamorize raising capital, or
Mhm.
I mean just really being a founder. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because that's one of the things that I really, from looking at the content that you post, I really like how you just really focus on, like, the reality of
Right.
being an
Building a
entrepreneur.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is such like it's such a journey. It's like such a human journey. Like imposter syndrome isn't just, it's just like one word, but it folds in a lot in there. Um, and I think the way I see it is like the moment you realize like you give permission for yourself to know what you're really good at and then like know what you're not good at and then you give yourself permission to just express it, with no fear. I think you can amplify what you're really good at, but don't be afraid to also be real and say, hey, I'm not the right person to solve this, but I can figure it out if you want me to. And we can collaborate on it. I think when you give yourself permission to like be real, especially in the beginning of any sort of relationship or like sales call, those are the moments you can be so real because later on you're in trouble. Like you've already
Yeah.
oversold yourself, right? I think like the moments in like beginning of a sales call, I always tell people I'm the worst salesperson ever. That's it. I don't really care. I'm just gonna be real. I'll tell you, what I'm really good at. Here are some case studies, but I'll also tell you like what I'm not really good at. And let you make the decision yourself if you want to move forward. Once you become vulnerable that way, I feel like imposter syndrome takes a step down. It doesn't create so much pressure now, moving forward.
No, I love that. And from my perspective, I think that is what makes the best salesperson at the end of the day. I think everyone, if they're talking to you, they have a problem that they're trying to solve. So they just want to know that you could solve it. And if you're honest about what you can do and what you can do, I think that typically just makes the whole relationship easier. So I really kind of love how you said that. I'm going to jump into a question from James Lavolsi, and James actually is a he's an entrepreneur, works in the software development, cybersecurity space. He said, going from 0 to 1, where do things get messy? That could be a long answer.
When does
Yeah.
it not get messy?
Yes.
Um, I've been building companies for, I don't know, like almost 2 decades now. Um, I'm older than you think, but
Yeah, I was like, when you started
I know.
8, what are you doing? Yeah.
Well, it's almost 2 decades, and
Wow.
it's always messy. Doesn't matter what stage you are in. And I think like it needs to be a shift of mindset here. Um, like you have to like kind of want to dance with the mess. And every time you see mess, at some point it doesn't have to stress you or disable you or freeze you. You go into this like problem solving mode, and I'm a huge fan of like the power of who, not how. And what that means is like if you don't know something, reach out to people and unlock knowledge, or reach out to people to see who would be the best to execute on this. Like when you think about how, you're always like locking yourself to like just yourself and like the knowledge that you have within yourself. But when you think about who, you really expand that. Um,
Mhm.
so um, I think it's just a shift in
Yeah.
mindset that will
No, I
like
love that.
really like make things easier.
Yeah. So I think humility is like a superpower that, we all have. Um, and really just being able to know that you don't know it all, and to ask for that help and get that. I guess, as a VC, I get a lot of people ask questions about, founder relations and things like that. I guess from your perspective, it seems like you invest in friends, right? I guess, how does that work for you? And I guess it's a two-part question. In terms of deal flow, are you, I guess maybe you could share a little bit about that in terms of, how many opportunities maybe you get pitched as an investor, and then also just, working with founders and managing that relationship in your time, of course. How do you tackle those things?
Yeah, I think like it's interesting. Like everyone I meet, I always want to like find ways to become friends. Like if you're
Yeah.
cool, then like we can be friends. But if you're not, we're not even gonna like talk further after the first call. I don't want my circle to be filled with anything evil, you know?
Yeah.
And 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 it's not just like a preference, it's a reality in how you like run your business too. Like if I'm working with someone, or if I'm getting pitched by someone I don't really like, or I don't really believe in how they think through growth, or they think through building something, and I continue that relationship, then there's just eventually I'm going to meet more of those people, because a lot of the work
Mm.
that we do is word of mouth. We build case studies so we can get more referrals. We hardly do any sort of marketing here. This is my first year sharing my stories on LinkedIn. I think it's more
Oh,
for me
wow.
healing project than to, get inbound leads. But naturally, it's just kind of expanded for me to meet more like-minded folks. If I'm real in my voice, I'm meeting so much more folks who are struggling with what I've been sharing, and also like resonating with the way I've been feeling. And so that's very magical. Um, with, yeah, like meeting founders, and making the investment, like I think it depends on the stage that you're in, right? Like I touch very early stage, right? I don't touch series A and up. I can't even afford, that period. Let's not even talk about that. I don't add value there, right? But like I know I add a lot of value before series A, and I can and see potential in people. I think that's like something I like will say is my superpower, and the talent we hire and the founders that I meet. And I do believe like when you invest in early stage, all you're doing is investing in potential, because promise you within the year of launching your company, you're going to pivot somehow. Most companies do. And so when I think about who's a great founder, I just want someone who's very curious about the world, and they're not too in love with a product or an idea that they're trying to build, and they're actually on more in love with like the idea of a mission that they're going to create and solve, and a community that they're trying to build. And through that, the product and the brand is just an output of it, just one output of how to like achieve a goal here, how to get revenue and continually foster the community. So when I see founders who are like that and they speak like that, I know they're going to be in it for the long run. But if a founder is coming from, oh, here's the TAM, like here's the opportunity, here's this company not doing it so well, um, you know, I get a little wary about that.
Yeah. Wow. I'm happy I'm recording because I feel like that's the best I've heard someone explain this. So I love that you are definitely just being a voice right now in this industry. And I think, is really why, I really so happy you were able to join us, Eva. Um, Perhaps, and I did not know you're new to LinkedIn. I think I read this year that LinkedIn surpassed 1 billion users this year. Maybe you could just share a little bit about your experience on LinkedIn and the benefits. And I also love that you're new this year, so I feel everyone should take note that he accomplished several things before posting on LinkedIn. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's hilarious because the economy was not very healthy this year. There's a lot of fear in the atmosphere. And so after our first quarter, I realized, hey, maybe I should, not be so naive and just like wait for leads to come in, and like it's not sustainable for the business to just do that. And it was this year when I like A/B tested a lot of different avenues of marketing to get more inbound leads. And so I launched a podcast, I conducted Facebook ads. Our IG is more active now, and like we're building community there and highlighting founders. We're posting on LinkedIn. We used to host a lot of dinners, and it's hard to scale that. But anyhow, of all the, objectives and like tests that we've conducted this year, I would say LinkedIn is like the most effective and most cost effective and reaches very far and wide. Um, and I still believe, and people have been saying this for years, that it's not like it's a network that's not been tapped yet. Like there's still
yeah,
so much opportunity on it. And people aren't even like fully leveraging the ads right yet now. It's just starting to sprinkle in, right? Um, and so I still believe like there's a huge opportunity, especially for this like fresh, this like this girl who has just started posting. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not even Googling hacks at all. Um, which I would for Product Hunt or like crowdfunding campaigns. They have a lot of algorithm put in there. So does LinkedIn, but I'm not even, Googling this or trying to hack the system. I'm just posting stories every other day. And that's it. I'm not using hashtags. And I think, if I tapped into that, I could do so much more, but without him already, my calendar is fully booked.
yeah.
It's too much for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. The word of the year is authenticity. And, for everyone, I really recommend following Eva because, that's the theme of all the posts that you have. Um, I guess, we're coming up to it here. Looking into 2024, what are some things that you're excited about? Obviously we've talked about AI probably all morning. But you know, what are you looking at looking into 2024?
I think this year was a very trying year for a lot of folks out there, and even myself. Um, if you see on my LinkedIn posts, I became a mom. My child
Congrats.
is, I literally just put her down before hopping onto this call. I was like, go to sleep, okay, bye. And then like, hi
Oh
guys,
wow.
you know. Um, and so it's been a trying year being a mother, and learning how to like prioritize my time better and like create boundaries for my time at work so that I could be present for my family. And so for next year, I'm really excited to like just like heal, for everyone out there. Just like the economic fear and all these like news out there about the world, the environment. I just hope that there will be like some cooler things happening that will be like more exciting and um just heal.
Yeah, no, I could relate to that. And congratulations. Um,
Thanks.
yeah, praying for heal. It's just gonna be an election year, so I just don't know how we're gonna
It's
but
gonna
definitely
be
worth yeah. But I'm big on, just personal, um, clarity, right? And kind of blocking out things that you can't control, right? And kind of like what you said as far as your circle and really just being surrounded by, people that uplift you and, it's not everything's never always perfect. So it's good to, have a community that you could go to talk about challenges and talk about wins as well, too, And I think about that too, right? As a founder, right? Like I think that's some of the tough things to have someone to go to for wins. Do you do you have a mentorship base, or where do you go for inspiration, or what are some podcasts that you look you pay attention to?
honestly, I just love like my one-on-one like catch-ups with people. Um, I think, like for example, founders that we've launched 7 years ago, there's so much to learn from them. And I believe like learning doesn't have to be from that like celebrity founder. It's actually very hard to relate to them and actually gain like learnings that are very tangible. I learn a lot from my founders. Like they go through shit, they go through like crazy growth. They go through, cultural shifts, like growth pains and also like very philosophical things because they're all building companies and there's a lot of philosophy and like internal work that is in play as a founder. And so I just reach out to my founder friends. That's it. Get a coffee and kind of like reflect on life and you get a lot out of that.
I love that. I love that. Well, that's a perfect place to